Hi scholars, I just wanted to make you a brief video to elaborate on some things that I didn't get to touch on in class this last Tuesday. First of all, you did a nice job on your quote speeches, so be encouraged. I thought that you all followed instructions well, and overall I was very pleased. So we talked a little bit about preparing for the informative speech for next week. As you recall, this speech assignment can be found at the end of week 2 module. So here's the assignment. I went over some aspects of preparing for the informative speech, but I want to elaborate a little bit more about how to cite sources. There's two ways that you will be citing sources. One will be in your full sentence preparation outline, and then the other will be verbally or out loud during your speech. And so let me show you how to do a works cited or bibliography at the end of your outline. So I'm going to go to this outline and speaker notes handout, and I'm going to scroll down if it will let me. There we go. To our sample outline of the sample speech that I mapped out in class yesterday. At the end of this outline, there is what's called a works cited, or the works that I cited in my outline. Now let me be very clear. We are not writing a paper. We are not writing an essay. Instead, we are outlining the content of our speech. And if you want to know more information about that, please feel free to go back to that outline and speaker note page and watch that particular video about outlining a speech. However, at the end of that outline, you need to list your sources in MLA or APA format. Now, most people coming into college have had a little experience working with MLA format, which is basically a style of writing that has been agreed upon by a group of people. And APA is just a different style of writing agreed upon by a different group of people, typically tied to a field of study. So for instance, English teachers and English and literature scholars use the Modern Language Association, or MLA, writing guidelines, so when they write papers, they all use the same format. It's like rules for being in their club, except their club isn't extremely cool. But anyway, so this particular one is a works cited done in MLA format. This may actually be a bit outdated, but one of the things that you can do is, let's say you're researching a particular topic. I'm just going to stick with my topic that I shared with you in class. So the Arnolfini portrait. Now I use the National Gallery as one of my I actually have three sources that I cite in my speech. And so I'm going to go to their website just so I can show you how I would cite this source if I were going to use something from it. So let's say that I get some information from this website that I use in my speech. That information will show up in my outline, and I'm going to make a note of where I got that information because I want to tell my audience that during my speech. But I'm also going to do a works cited or a bibliography for this site. There's a couple of ways you can do this. For me, a shortcut is to Google MLA, and one of the very first websites that will pop up when you do that is from Purdue University. They've created a big guide on how to write in MLA format. And so if you cite an electronic source like a website in MLA, here's what it should look like. Let me scroll down. So if you want to cite an entire website, here's the format. So you do the name of the site, the name of the publishing entity, whether it's a person or an organization. then the name of the site, the date that it was created. Usually you can find this at the bottom of a web page, and then the web address, and then when you accessed it. And so that might be today's date if you access the site today. And so there's some good information on this website as to how to cite a particular website. Now here is a shortcut. I like to do a couple of things. There's a site called BibMe.org, which will basically do your citation for you, but you've got to check and make sure it's correct. So I'm going to choose MLA because that is one of the accepted ways that you can cite your information. And so I'm going to go back to my source, the National Gallery. I'm going to copy their web address, go over to bibme.org, click on website because I want to cite a website, paste their web address in the search box, and click the yellow button. It's going to ask if this is the right website. Yes, it is, so I want to select that. And then it's going to tell me what it found. So it found these aspects. There's some things missing from this website or from this citation. And so I'm going to go to final step, and then I'll probably fill in the blanks. So here's the article title. That is correct. I don't think that there is a particular author. Let me double check. No, this is not something that's written by a particular author, but instead is just sponsored by that gallery. So I'm going to leave this blank. The National Gallery is the website title. It's also the publisher. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to include the URL or the website address, and then here's the day that I accessed it. Now I don't have information on when this particular page was published, so I'm going to just double check and look down at the bottom of this page. Let's see. No, there usually is like a copyright date, a year at least. Let me see. Nope, I can't find it. So I'm going to leave that blank as well. Okay, so then I go to create citation. And here we go. I can now copy this and paste it into my works cited at the end of my outline. Now it's not totally complete. You need to double space it. Let me go back and look at the outline. There's a hanging indentation in MLA format, and so that first line is all the way over to the left, and then the subsequent lines are indented, and so you might still need to do some adjustments. But to check, you can always go to Purdue OWL, look at the formatting that they say is correct, and just make sure yours matches that. But bibme.org or easybib.com or citationmachine.net, these are all citation generators that could help you cite your sources in your works cited at the end of your outline. Now let's talk about during your speech. And so as you are going to, oh wow, I'm on the big screen. So as you are going to deliver your speech, you want to make sure that you are telling your audience where you get your information from, because this adds to your credibility. And plus, if you use information from someone or some entity and you do not give them credit, you are essentially plagiarizing that information. So it's stealing information. So you need to make sure that if you get information from, for instance, the National Gallery's website, that you tell us something like, according to the National Gallery, this painting was painted in 1434 and it is oil on oak. And so whatever your source is, you have to have two different ones. You need to tell us within your speech the name of that source and the information you got from it. And so don't forget to do that, because points will be taken off if you do that. Let me go in and show you one more thing that may be helpful. A lot of people wonder how you will be graded for this particular speech. And so if you go to the informative speech assignment, you should be able to see the rubric that will be used to grade you on. And so when you turn in your outline, that's 10 points. The organization of your speech is 10 points. Your content and whether you cite your sources out loud during the speech is 30 points. Your delivery of the speech is 30 points. Your visual aid, your PowerPoint, how effectively it's designed and how you use it, 10 points. And do you meet time requirements of 3 to 4 minutes? That's 10 points. And so you want to be aware of what you're going to be graded on, and you want to make sure that you pay attention to these areas. Another thing that I want to talk about just briefly, that I mentioned to a couple of you individually, is this idea of being perfect when you give a speech. So many times, so many times students get really disappointed in themselves when they make a very small mistake giving a speech. We are not perfect individuals, and we will make mistakes. Do not put this burden of perfection upon yourself. That is a heavy burden, and it's very hard to bear, and we will never be perfect. Now, am I giving you permission to slack off when I say this? Absolutely not. You still need to prepare. You need to get your content together. It needs to be very polished. You need to practice, but don't have such high expectations of yourself that are impossible to meet. People make mistakes, and so don't worry about small mistakes that might happen. Instead, focus on the big picture, focus on communicating to your audience, and visualize yourself doing a really good job on this particular speech. So you have a lot to do this week. We talked about it in class. I went over the speech process, but if you have any questions, please come by and see me. I am happy to help. I'm here to help, and I want you to do a good job, and so make sure that you're getting all the help that you need. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you in class on Tuesday. Thanks.